Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. It all started with just $5.45, a paltry sum stolen in the dead of night from a small town bank. But this seemingly minor crime would set in motion a chain of events that would leave two men dead, one of them a dedicated FBI agent, and expose a network of hardened criminals operating across the American Midwest. This is the story of the disastrous lapel bank burglary. Our story begins on the night of December 2nd, 1937, in the quiet town of Lapel, Indiana. A group of burglars broke into the State Bank of Lapel by prying open a grate over a rear window, their tool of choice, an acetylene torch intended to slice through the bank's safe. But something spooked them. They fled into the darkness, leaving their torch and equipment behind, having only managed to grab a handful of change. The next morning, the bank cashier discovered the break-in and called the FBI's Indianapolis office. Because the bank's deposits were insured by the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, this local burglary was now a federal crime. The FBI launched an immediate investigation, working with the Indiana State Police. Agents quickly developed leads pointing to a trio of paroled convicts: Joseph Earlywine, Fred Steffler, and William Hewlett. This wasn't just a one-off job. Investigators suspected this crew was behind a string of robberies and equipment thefts across Indiana. As the FBI built its case, the crime wave continued. In the spring of 1938, two more banks were hit in Illinois, both using the same acetylene torch method. Then, on April 25th, the burglars made a bold and foolish move. They returned to the scene of their first crime, the State Bank of Lapel. This time, however, their luck ran out. A night watchman making his rounds noticed strange activity inside the bank. The burglars spotted him and fled, again abandoning their torch. But this time, the watchman got a good look at one of them. He later positively identified the man as Fred Steffler. With a solid identification, the investigation kicked into high gear. The FBI and local police focused all their efforts on tracking down the three suspects. On May 2, 1938, a federal warrant was issued for Steffler's arrest. State warrants were also issued for Earlywine and Hewlett, wanted for stealing the acetylene equipment used in the burglaries. The law was closing in. Investigators tracked Earlywine and Hewlett to a remote farmhouse near Penfield, Illinois, for several days. Officers staked out the property, hoping Steffler would show up. When he didn't, they decided it was time to move in and arrest the two men they had. On the morning of the raid, a team of officers, including FBI Special Agent William R. Ramsey, approached the farm. They found William Hewlett plowing a field and took him into custody without a fight. The rest of the team then moved on the farmhouse. Agent Ramsey, along with two Indiana State Troopers and the local sheriff, entered the house. Inside, they found their man, Joseph Earlywine. They identified themselves and told Earlywine he was under arrest. But Earlywine had no intention of going back to prison. Instead of surrendering, he whipped out a .45 caliber automatic pistol and opened fire. He shot Agent Ramsey several times. Despite being mortally wounded, Agent Ramsey drew his own weapon and returned fire. One of his bullets struck Earlywine squarely in the forehead, killing him instantly. In his final desperate moments, Earlywine fired wildly, with no regard for anyone's safety, not even his own family. Amid the chaos, his 7-year-old son, Virgil, ran into the room and was struck in the chest by a bullet from his own father's gun. The boy would thankfully survive, but the tragedy was immense. Special Agent William Ramsey was rushed to a nearby hospital, but his wounds were too severe. He died early the next morning, leaving behind a legacy of bravery and sacrifice in the line of duty. A search of Earlywine's farmhouse painted a clear picture of his criminal life. Officers uncovered a massive cache of burglars' tools, acetylene, and oxygen tanks, torches, dynamite, and piles of stolen goods. It was undeniable proof of his career as a professional thief. With Earlywine dead, the manhunt focused on the last remaining suspect, Fred Steffler. That same afternoon, a team of FBI agents and local police apprehended the 41-year-old scar-faced criminal as he walked into his home in Danville, Illinois. A search of his house turned up another .45 caliber pistol with its serial numbers filed off and 3 ounces of highly unstable nitroglycerin. Under interrogation, Steffler cracked. He provided a detailed confession, admitting to a series of safe-cracking jobs he and Earlywine had pulled off. They'd hit an auto agency in Muncie for $900, a theater in Petersburg for $245, and another safe in Mattoon for $500. Steffler even admitted to a solo job in Bloomington, where he netted $300. He confessed to the failed Indianola Bank job, explaining they were forced to flee when a tear gas bomb inside the safe went off. Interestingly, while Steffler admitted that Earlywine had told him about the first lapel burglary, he denied being there himself. He also insisted their associate, William Hewlett, wasn't involved in any of the bank jobs. With little evidence against him, Hewlett was later tried in state court for receiving stolen property but was acquitted. For Fred Steffler, however, the road ended there. On June 27, 1938, a federal grand jury indicted him for the second burglary of the lapel bank. He pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 15 years in the federal penitentiary at Leavenworth, Kansas. Looking back, the criminal records of these three men tell a predictable and tragic story. They were all repeat offenders, who had been given multiple second chances through the parole system, only to return to a life of crime. Joe Earlywine had a record stretching back to 1921 for everything from stealing chickens to grand larceny and conspiracy. He was paroled twice. William Hewlett was also paroled from a grand larceny sentence, but the most extensive record belonged to Fred Steffler. His rap sheet was a laundry list of crimes starting in 1916, including petty larceny, motor vehicle theft, escaping from prison, and robbing a U.S. post office. He had been in and out of state and federal prisons across the country, from Indiana to Washington state. He was paroled from a sentence of not less than 30 years, only to be arrested again. In 1936, he was declared delinquent for violating his parole and suspected of being a safecracker. He remained a fugitive until the FBI caught up with him after the lapel job. The story that began with a $5 theft ended in a bloody shootout, the death of a federal agent, and the end of a Midwest crime spree. It serves as a stark reminder of the dangers law enforcement officers face and the tragic consequences that can unfold from even the smallest of crimes. The sacrifice of Special Agent William R. Ramsey is a testament to the dedication of those who risk everything to uphold the law. Thank you for watching.